Well, get on in here, Porch. Red Dirt Preacher. Good to see you. Good to see you. Otherwise known as Lainey. Yours truly in my pajamas today. This is my second set of pajamas because it's laundry day. You see this infinity symbol? This is the sign of laundry. It's okay. So yeah, ditch the pajamas, everything. New set of jammies because I have nothing to wear. It's all on the floor of the closet, the floor of the bedroom, the floor of the bathroom, the floor of the laundry room, but not washed. Right? Forever, infinity. Now that we've introduced my laundry and spent some time here, I don't mean to waste your time. I want to spend time with you, so don't rush me. Don't rush me. But today was an event that I put up last night, and I wanted to talk about knife wives. So, hey there. Today, I wanted to talk about something kind of old school, kind of old resonance. So if you've been a part of the spiritual journey for a good minute, you've healed yourself, you understand, you can look at the opposite sex, and you're like, ooh, you can see what needs to be healed. However, this message sometimes gets to people who are on different ages and stages or even not on the spiritual journey. And I think there's a lot of men out there, i.e. baby boomer men. I'm just, plucking that out. I'm not picking on anyone. I'm highlighting. That's different. And I'm illuminating. That's not picking on. So I wanted to illuminate for men what the hell it looks like to have a knife wife. A lot of you might be married to one for decades. This is the truth. Anyway, being on a spiritual journey. Let's talk about marriage a little bit. And, it is like society to go and teach women, to teach men how to treat ladies and girls and women. Men need to treat women. Nobody's over there talking about how the women need to treat the men. Nobody's teaching their daughters how to go treat a gentleman, a son of God, okay? And how to be a lady that attracts and is worthy to receive a man of God. So nobody's really, it's old school. It's laying there between the Spirit and the Bible and a hotel room dresser drawer. But nobody's telling the ladies how to treat men. And because that's not happening, we have like a whole slew of generational knife wives who turned around and raised up daughters to be knife wives. And we just keep continuing to have these cutthroat females. And I'm putting a stop to that bullshit this morning on the porch, okay? Remember, we don't deal with the bullshit here. So, raising up generations of women who tell you, men, that you're wrong. You're always wrong. You're wrong, 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 wrong. No matter what you feel, no matter what you say, what you did, what you thought, you're wrong. How many men out there have permanent resident cards on Wrong Island? Right? You'd be rowing across the Wrong Island and coming back. That is not a marriage. That is torture and bad for you because you're not really, for the men that I'm speaking to, you're not getting to live your soul. You're being a can opener for somebody that doesn't know how to open cans, really. You're being a tool that someone else is using to get through life because they didn't develop the tools on their own. It'd be no different than somebody being born without legs, goes and takes your legs and uses them their whole life. Makes you feel guilty when you don't let them use it. So you spend your whole life placating to someone with no legs. That's not a life, and you gave up your legs. So sometimes, a lot of the time, I would say like 80%, 82%. It's really a sickness. But a lot of marriages out here are guys and pepper sprayed down with love. But it's when you dig apart and you really look at it, it's not love. It is this ancient codependent. Why are they codependent? Women can't do certain things for themselves when they're put here on the earth. And therefore, instead of learning to do it ourselves, we get men to do it for us. And that is even as far as to say all the way to the fence line that we allow men to carry us through life with the ATM chakra, the root chakra. Women have a really hard time developing a good root chakra, so they allow the men to mule that along for them. And a lot of marriages end up like this, and that's why a lot of marriages stay together because the Bible says to stay together. Okay, we'll get into that in a separate dirt road. But marriages can be very encapsulating and very derogatory for the growth of your soul and your spirit. And you're here for the spiritual growth. You're here for Jesus first, God first. God's always first. Serve him first. And it's like women to kind of want to get into the top place there, and women want you to serve them. So men spend a lot of their lives, if not 25, 35, 45 years of their life, serving a female in their life, usually their wife, and they think that that's like the good thing to do. There is balance in all things. This is a multiplex subject. But so sometimes men will forego what God has in store for them, the life they have in store for them, an animated life, and trade that off for the societal marriage. And I stayed and I served this one person, and it hasn't been happy, and it wasn't joyous, and this person didn't get to grow in their soul form. They got to serve the female for decades. And so a knife wife is a person that makes you feel like you're always wrong, makes you feel inadequate, makes you doubt yourself, makes you feel like you can't even get up and turn on a light bulb without them helping you. A knife wife is someone who makes you feel guilty when you want to make change in your life. Say you want to add fishing to your soul balance. Okay, you work all the damn time, and then there's family, and family's starting to feel like work. So men are around work and then work. Nowhere in there is really a fun growth for a man. I mean, what do you guys do? You know what I mean? On Tuesday nights, go hang with the boys and talk about low vibrational things. There's no one, I'm not saying it's that way for all men. Generally, that's the way that it is. So there's no real light getting into the men. And so women nowadays are all kinds of up in arms because there's a bunch of baby boomer men walking around with gray hair, and inside they're like teenage boys. Their emotional aptitude is like that of a 15 to 22-year-old person that just has, car keys and money and freedom. Okay, that's dangerous. So that begets womanizers and cheating and, fairy tale sellers and things like that. That can't happen either. So men can't just be going to work all times and then be home all the damn time and be serving and serving and serving and serving. What are they doing that for? Sex and sandwiches? I mean, come on. God died for them too and gave them the potential energy to have a great life. And for any woman to get in the way of a man's life and really take God's providence away from that man and just hand him sex and sandwiches like that's why he was born. Men have really lowered their expectations of happiness. As long as the wife's happy and I'm getting sex and sandwiches, oh, you guys say I'm okay. Did you know that God made you men for a whole hell of a lot more than that? Did you know that you're powerful more than that? Women need you to get your balls off of the mason jar that's above the sinker stove and put them back in you and go out in the world to be a man. Because a lot of women, knife wives, will stay at home and demasculate men. Men don't even, my own father was like this. Like, he doesn't even know when to take the trash out if, mom doesn't say it, so it's okay. I mean, there are women that literally have made men over the course of decades so doubtful in themselves, they literally feel like a child. So us women that are raising daughters and things like that, we're changing the paradigm of knife wives. We do not want an entire generation of men to have the emotional aptitude of a teenager. Okay, we need real men. And that starts by men being aware that this sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes this thing called relationship or this thing called marriage, it's not what you need to be doing just because society put that on your back to wear. Oh, yep, you should be married and then you should serve this woman over here for 25, 30 years. That makes you good. There's a lot of good people not hanging out in heaven. There's a lot of good people not hanging out in the holy light of the Lord. Okay? Good's not always the best, right on? I don't want to be good. That's like a damning. So men get sold this paradigm. And if they go live it and make it true, it's like somebody proverbial comes by and gives them a life high five. Like, you made it. What did you make it? I sat somewhere and sat still. I didn't grow. I became enslaved and entrapped by the very spouse that I married, who then reverted back to being my mother, and I'm the child. And I got up every day thinking I was going to get in trouble. I got up every day placating to her mood because Lord knows what it's going to be from one day to the next. So there is this man serving a woman's whimful emotions. And when we have now sold out to the crowd, we've said, a happy life is a happy wife. A happy wife is a happy life. I don't think so. It's not your job to serve the females. And if we're happy, then everybody else is happy. That is some bullshit. And I don't want men eating that for dinner, lunch, and dinner anymore. Don't eat that. But just because the world has been saying that for a long time does not make it true. Does not make it true. Women are accountable for their own happiness. And in part, through their own security. Don't get with a female who has voids in herself, capital S, okay? Voids. And when she's out there dating or looking for someone, she's going to attract in someone that does all of her weaknesses and a strength. Okay, so it's not like I'm in love with you, It's very subconsciously done, but we pull in people so we don't have to grow or go. We pull in people so we don't really have to move. They actually complement our complacency. And then we label that as love because it's codependent very much at nature. And Holy Spirit is doing a great job in the last 7 to 10 years of pulling people out of these codependent marriages where the Bible says, God says don't get divorced. Well, I got divorced 7 years ago and look at my job title. Totally blessed, not damned over here. Living proof that you can get divorced and continue on about your path. And, there's grace and space for that. We do not know what we don't know. So I think I was, you're allowed out of commitments if you need to grow. And I believe that, like in my case, Spirit will pull you out of marriages right here on this earth because he wants to pull you into a higher marriage with him. You know what I'm saying? And you learn on a spiritual journey how to be a holy wife and a holy husband, and therefore wanting holy union within yourself, male, masculine, left, right brain, coming together. So when you're a whole person, no one has to come along and help complete you in your weak spots. You are complete on your own, and you do this work with Jesus Christ. If you do it without him, you might as well just build your house on sand. Doing this work with Christ is what fruits you well, right? And I think that's what the idea of marriage was meant. When you are fruited well and your counterpart is fruited well, these complement each other, then therefore making like the infinity sign. 2 circles interceding there. That's like a wedding ring. That's awesome. So that's complementary, not completing someone because you are where their holes are. Do you understand what I'm saying? You are the strength of their weaknesses. Totally codependent. And when you get married to someone like that, give or take 10, 12 years, you're going to grow as a person. And some of those weaknesses that you had when you were 20, some of those doubts that you had when you were 20, You've worked that over. So now you're 37, 39, you're still married to the same person, but you're outgrowing what you got married to them for. If you got married to them because you didn't like doing dishes and you couldn't cook and you didn't know computers, I bet by the time you have some kids and you're 37, you can cook, you do know computers, and you're starting to find that you're growing away from this person. They're not serving that. Where's the love? Well, there wasn't much here. There was love for you to be complacent. That's why you married the person. And that happens a lot. So I see this a lot in baby boomer men because I date baby boomer men, and I have had since I was, younger. So I see the same paradigm, and that's why I speak about it more often than not. You know what I'm saying? You'll find this niche of speaking is because I have a lot of experience dealing with baby boomer men who come from 20, 30-year-old marriages. And by the time I meet them, there's a lot of damage going on there. So marriages inadvertently turn into like this glorified slavery system. And people are like, well, I own them. They're mine. No, we're married. We complement each other. We're committed. You don't really own me. You're not my slave master. You don't get to hold over the deed. You know what I'm saying? We still have freedom. So that gets lost a lot in marriages. So knife wives are women that you secretly fear. You fear your wife. I am a carpenter and I'm in and out of Home Depot and Lowe's, and I've told you guys before, I've been in there and a man will quip to me real quick, I can't stand in line with you. My wife will what is this? We're standing in line together. But, I really did hear that. Another man was buying stuff one time, and he turned around to me as if to look for stranger confirmation and was like, well, if I get another one of these, my wife's going to have me. I hear it all the time because I'm around baby boomer men at Home Depot and Lowe's trying to make big decisions about life without their wives. And they are not even allowed to get 3 more paint sticks than, are you kidding? This is the level, the leashes that we've got our husbands on. Our men of the world are on the shortest leashes ever. And they're attached to women who will do anything not to have the water line get to their neck, right? They're scared. Women are scared to provide for themselves, be alone. And there is good alchemy in that. There is such good alchemy. I recommend every woman be alone. Fruit your own things. Don't just use a man. So you men are being very misused in our society, and you have been for a long time. And by virtue of that, men have been demasculated. You guys have lost your power, even though you have it. You don't really have a voice in the family no more. It's like mom's talking because the wife is talking because she's got the damn pants on. She doesn't need to have the pants on. That was something that shouldn't have happened. Yes, women can get empowered, but leave the pants for the man. And it's like that for a reason. It's called holy alchemy, and there's some things you just don't mess with. You know what I mean? Rules are meant to be broken. Laws, however, are different. And, this is like a holy law. Like, men belong at the top and at the head. And with that, again, caveat, men do need to learn that it's not such an ego, like I'm at the head of the family. It's grace. Jesus is at the head of my life too, but he doesn't do it in a very authoritative way. He doesn't do it in a King George off with your head kind of way. Jesus is the leader in my life. He's at the helm of my table. He's at the head of my table, the helm of my boat, and I obey him. And there's submissiveness in me. There is a wife in me towards the Spirit. And I understand that that's how I'm supposed to be treated by a man here on earth, is to trust him like I do Jesus, obey him like I do Jesus, submit to that will, and work together to create many awesome things in life that are like legacy born. That's what he meant for us. That's what he meant by marriage. And the way that we have misconstrued marriage now to be almost like peopletrader.com, and marriage has lost its authenticity and its staying power, and it has. And that's okay for right now because we have misused marriage for a really long time. We parceled women out back in the day as pieces of land, you can have my 3 daughters and a cow, so that did not do well for us to have to go heal that. So we've learned that we're parcelable. Women parse themselves out to get security. Back in the day, in our ancestors' time, our great-great-grandfathers parceled us out for family security. That does some, we got to heal that. That's some woman damage. So we have like this hardcore DNA that tells us that we have to parcel ourselves out to just make it in the world, to just be chaperoned, to have security. And a lot of that still resides in females today, and it comes out in a very toxic, negative way towards the men of our society. And that's because women just saddle up a man's back and ride him until he dies, literally. Most of you men don't even do things that you love. You probably don't go fishing. You're not allowed to, right? How many of you are not even allowed to go fishing? How hard would it be to go to your wife and be like, I'm going to go away for 3 days, I'm going to go fishing? Do you guys have that kind of power, that kind of space and grace? Was she allowing to you? So there's a good example of that. A lot of men don't even know what it's like not to be around their wives all the time, and that's where they're expected to be. How suffocating is that? And what is God up here? Like, God gave you your life. And that woman needs to be reminded of that. Your life is not for her to co-own. And that happens a lot in marriages. And people allow it to happen. And they continue to allow it to happen. So no one's sticking up for the men. And I just wanted to say I wanted to stick up for the men because I'm well aware that there are knife wives out there who have, if we have some knife wives that are, baby boomer generation, well, then they've already raised their daughters who are my age now to be knife wives as well. Cry when you don't get your way, cry when you're in trouble, because that'll get what you need. Cry about it. Women use tears. Women use emotions. Women use guilt trips. They do whatever they can do to keep the man in the rut, is what I call it, the ATM mule rut. And it's the fear they have. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I'm just saying, generationally speaking, it's totally not fair to sit all this weight on top of a man's back and drown out his soul-given life that God gave him. His men's jobs are not just to come down here on earth and get married, get a job, and sit still for half a century and serve a job, which is a hamster wheel, and then serve the wife, which is also a hamster wheel that'll, whimsically change any day. What about you? And it's not selfish to sit there and say, hey, what about me? Stand up, breathe, start creating a life. It's not fair just because you're a man that you get suffocated throughout your life and be a workhorse for females, for generations who haven't healed their own shit. And we just, what do they call it? We contract that out to men. Not fair. Not fair, and it needs to stop. So knife wives are people who use every situation around them to make men to control them. Either control you with the feelings, control you with the guilt, the kids, the money, make you feel like you got to be at home, at the same time make you feel like you got to be at work, and when you're at work they make you feel like you got to be home. You can never make them happy, and you can never do right, and it's never enough. If that's happening to you, that's the flashing sign that you have an unhealed toxic female in your life that needs to take a chakra walk. Anyway, so I used to be one. I got better. I feel like Monty Python, where they turned her into a newt. She turned me into a newt, but I got better. I used to be a knife wife too, but I got better. I was in a marriage too where I was slowly becoming my mother, and I was slowly doing these things to the husband I had at the time. And I'm so glad. I'm happy to be divorced because I'm healing on my own, learning to be a holy wife through this spirit. And I'm not sitting on the back of a man, making him absolutely 110% responsible for my life and its outcome and my feelings and its outcome. No, are you kidding? God's not going to put up with that for too long. So a lot of marriages will come down because it's due season for things like that to come down and real alchemy and real work to be done. And it's very freeing. Men need to be freed from these slavery bonds that are guised as marriages. Another slavery bond that we have that's guised as something else is religion. That's a slavery bondage system. We get into religion. It's a bondage system. It's a box. And we get out of that and you get into spirituality, which is a circle, which is very open. Then we release ourselves from these spiritual bondages, this spiritual bond, and in guise of something else. So it looks like we're getting close to God. It looks like we're moving with God, but we're in the bondage of religion. I've never been closer to God now than I am, and I'm spiritual. I'm out of the bondage of religion, and I have never been as deep with Jesus as I've been in the last 7 years. So getting out of those spiritual bondages to go deeper. And like I said, a lot of these spiritual bondages are labeled something on the front of it, like religion. Oh, I should go there. That's where God is. Smoke fire. You should go to the fire. Go to the man. Go to the spirit. Spiritual, be spiritual. Don't go into the box of religion smelling the Holy Family's cologne and never being able to find it, So I hope this made a lot of sense. And like I said, I'm not trying to, if you're going to try, don't come to me if you want your marriages to hold together like preachers a little bit, like the first preacher that releases you. Yep, get divorced. You know what I mean? They ordained me for that. You can order, if you can marry people, you can divorce people, right? So I'm not like sitting here saying I'm a huge ambassador for breaking down all marriages in the world. No, there are some that are absolutely gorgeous and unionized, and God is there. He is there. But I also see a lot of marriages being misused, and because it's labeled marriage, you assume that love is there. The world says, be happy, be good, stay there. That's the right thing to do. That is so old generation. And I think that my generation's coming up and realizing, no, that's not the cadence for us. We're not just going to get out of high school and hurry up and marry somebody. Let me see where my lacks are and your strengths. Let's get together. We're really unconscious people. And I'm training my kids, graduate high school and spend 5 years alone. Spend 5 years of your life, any time in your life, spend 5 years being single. Spend 2 years being celibate, and then give yourself to someone, because in that 7-year total, I guarantee you're going to have a completely different outlook and perspective on what you're wanting in your life and wanting for yourself, right? So you could have married somebody right out of high school and being young and dumb and not awake and not even knowing yourself. You don't even know yourself when we're making lifelong commitments to other people and ourselves. And then we realize we've grown out of them. We carry our cross silently and we don't tell anybody. God didn't carry his cross forever. For 40 years in the desert. You know what he did? He took his cross and he marched it right to the hill and he died on it. And he came up in 3 days. So if you've got a cross that you're bearing, stop bearing it like that. Take it to the hill, get up on it, speak your truth, let your self-ego die, and wait for God to found you a new life in him. One that's based in truth and love and authenticity, not something that you've slave bonded yourself in because that's what the community curb, your church, your mom, and what people told you 20 years ago was going to be good for you. You might have made a decision out of ego, like, well, this would be good for me money-wise, she's pretty, looks good on paper, known her since high school, yep. And then you say yes to that and you end up spending half a century with someone. That's a big deal. What happens when you get woke up in that? So like I said, I think there's space and grace for we know not what we do. We know not what we do. And there comes a day when we wake up and realize, and we heal up and we realize, and I think God is pardoning a lot of us out of slavery bondages, okay? Like I said, living proof here. I got divorced 7 years ago, and I have a happy divorce and a great relationship with my ex, and I still have, my family is still together. You can't tell we're really divorced, really. So there is healthy ways to exit stage left and not scorch the earth. Okay, there are healthy ways to exit stage left and change your life and tune it a little bit different and create it the way that you needed to create it without actually killing every single person you love and annihilating everything and throwing the baby out with the bathwater. There's healthy ways to do things. So I just wanted to point out that men live on Wrong Island, and they have for way too damn long. There are toxic ladies out there that are using you for your resources and what you do as a man, and really drowning you out. They're drowning you out. God gave you purpose. What is your purpose? What is your life about? What is he telling you to do? And if he is telling you to do, and you want to do that, is your wife going to let you do it? She probably doesn't let you drive around the block without her permission. I mean, you can't work for God if you have a knife wife. They're not even going to let you take the trash out after 9 p.m. You know what I'm saying? So he might pull you away from women who are like this, who are just going to stop your spiritual growth. Okay? Don't be surprised. You know, so anyway, I'm going to be on and off here on the porch today. So if you're around, do catch my lives. So I have all day with you guys, and who knows what's going to be on the river and in the river water and on the docket today. So I'm excited to bring you good news. And I'm slow clapping a revolution over here, and I'm getting days closer. So I really can't wait to give you guys a heartfelt, prophetic, on fire speech that I've got sitting right here in my throat chakra. But until then, we'll leave messages like this and warm it up. So I hope this message was good to you. I do have a message very much like this on YouTube. I spoke about it a long time ago. It's a little bit more in depth, but it does cover the same thing. And this topic that I'm speaking of is very actually multiplex and very, it's as simple as it is complex. So, I mean, I could actually spend hours talking about this knife wife and how they work and why they work and what that looks like and what it does to the man, and generationally speaking, micro, macro, we can sit here and do this. Hopefully I just wanted to point out that this is here. And for you men out there, it's like somebody needs to come along and help the men get empowered, because it's like the women won't let you. How are you going to get free? If we need men to get together in the world and do something, how can they do that when they're in slavery by the stove? Women won't let men be men. And because of that, we have, you make your bed, you lie in it. Now we're lying in a world, and we have hashtag #MeToos. We have daughters that aren't protected. We have broken down societies. We have societies without male heads. We have children growing up without male heads. Why is this happening? We're not going to sit here and blame the men. In part, sure. But whose fault is it really? I would say for the last 50 years, it's the woman's fault, because she's been demasculating the man and tying him up closer and closer and closer and closer to the house. Therefore, rendering him unavailable, emotionally unavailable, physically unavailable to be in the world and in his community and even present in his own house. Amen. So it's the ladies' fault. So I'm going to go yell at the women like, y'all need to get shit together, leave the men alone. Set them free. You know, that's what guys are, let my people go, let them free. All right. Hopefully that made a good message and a good monitor to you and gives you strength and keys to set yourself free where need be. We'll see you guys in a little bit. All right. Mwah.